Snow was falling heavily that night and the streets were almost empty, except for a few hurried footsteps and glowing lights. In the distance, a millionaire named Ethan Parker was driving home with his little daughter Lily after attending a Christmas charity event. His heart was tired from business meetings and endless responsibilities, but he was always careful to give his daughter attention because she was all he truly had after his wife passed away. As they drove through the quiet street, Lily suddenly pointed to the side and shouted, "Daddy, look, there is a lady on the bench." Ethan slowed down and his sharp eyes caught sight of a young woman sitting on a snow-covered bench, her head leaning against the backrest, her coat dusted with snowflakes in her arms. She cradled a small baby wrapped in an old blanket. She looked exhausted, pale and fragile. Lily's innocent voice broke the silence. "Daddy, why is she sleeping here?" Ethan parked the car quickly and stepped out the icy wind, hit his face as he approached the bench. He crouched down in front of the woman, his leather gloves brushing the snow from her coat. He saw how tightly she was holding the baby. Despite her weakness, the child was asleep warm against her chest. "Ethan," gently spoke, "Miss, can you hear me?" But her head only tilted slightly and her lips trembled from the cold. Her strength seemed gone. Lily stood beside him, looking at the baby with wide eyes. "Daddy, she has a baby. We can't leave her here." Ethan's chest tightened at his daughter's plea. For a man who was known in business for being ruthless and calculating, Ethan was surprised at the ache in his heart. At that moment, he had built his empire on logic and strategy, yet seeing this young mother and her child abandoned on a freezing night shattered that hard shell without wasting another second. He carefully lifted the baby from her arms and wrapped it in his own coat. Then he helped the woman stand. Though she was barely conscious, he supported her and guided her toward the car. Lily held the baby protectively, whispering, "Don't worry, little one, we'll take care of you." Back at his mansion, the warmth of the fireplace welcomed them. His staff rushed over, shocked at the sight of their employer, carrying a weak young woman. Ethan ordered the maid to prepare a guest room and a doctor was called immediately. The baby was fine, though hungry, and the doctor confirmed that the woman was suffering from exhaustion, malnutrition, and exposure. She needed rest and food. Ethan watched silently as she was settled into a warm bed, her golden hair spread on the pillow, her delicate features softened by sleep. Later that night, when the doctor had left, Ethan sat by the fire with Lily, the little girl, hugged the baby tightly as if she had found a new sibling. She looked up at her father with innocent eyes. "Daddy, can she stay with us?" Ethan sighed, his mind filled with unanswered questions. Who was she? Why was she out in the snow with a newborn? But as he looked at his daughter's hopeful face and the fragile child in her arms, he simply nodded for now. The next morning, the young woman woke slowly, her eyes blinking in confusion as she realized she was no longer on the freezing bench. She tried to sit up, but her body ached. Ethan entered quietly, carrying a tray of warm food. She froze at the sight of him, unsure and wary. "Who are you?" she asked softly, her voice hoarse. He placed the tray down and answered calmly, "My name is Ethan Parker. I found you last night in the snow with your baby. My daughter insisted we bring you home." Her lips trembled as tears welled in her eyes. She whispered, "Thank you, I thought we wouldn't make it." Over the next days, she gradually recovered. Her name was Emily. She explained that she had no family left. Her parents had died when she was young, and her husband had abandoned her after discovering she was pregnant. She had been living in shelters, but on that bitter night she had nowhere to go and no one to ask for help. Ethan listened quietly, though his heart burned with anger at the cruelty she had faced. He noticed how, despite her pain, Emily was gentle with her baby, always humming soft lullabies and shielding him from every draft of cold air. Lily grew attached to Emily and the baby, whom she named Benny for fun. She would follow Emily around, giggling and offering her dolls as if sharing her world with a new sister. Emily often smiled, though her eyes carried hidden sorrow. One evening, Ethan found her sitting near the fireplace, rocking Benny gently. He asked her, "What do you plan to do, Emily?" She looked at him, her voice steady. "I will find work. I cannot rely on charity." Ethan frowned. He respected her strength, but he knew the world was harsh for someone in her condition. Days turned into weeks and Emily became a quiet presence in Ethan's home. She insisted on helping around the house, cooking small meals, folding laundry, playing with Lily. The staff grew fond of her and even Ethan found himself watching her more often than he intended. He noticed the way her laughter filled the halls, the way Benny's tiny hands gripped her finger, and the way Lily seemed happier than ever. But he also saw her lingering sadness, her fear of being a burden. One night after dinner, Ethan invited her to his study. The fire crackled as he poured her tea. "Emily, I want to help you," he said firmly. "You deserve better than sleeping on the streets with your child. I can provide a home for you and Benny." Emily's eyes widened. She shook her head. "No, I cannot take advantage of your kindness. You have already done so much." Ethan leaned closer, his gaze intense. "This is not pity, Emily. This is me wanting to give you the chance you deserve." Her resistance slowly melted as she saw the sincerity in his eyes for the first time in years. She felt safe not just for herself, but for her baby. Months passed, and Emily started to bloom again. She found work through Ethan's connections, not as charity, but because he believed in her abilities. She worked part-time while still caring for Benny and Lily, who now called each other brother and sister. Ethan watched proudly as Emily's strength returned. One snowy evening, Lily tugged on her father's sleeve as they decorated the Christmas tree. "Daddy, do you love Emily?" Ethan paused, looking at his daughter's innocent face, then at Emily across the room, gently hanging ornaments with Benny in her arms. His heart answered before his lips did. "Yes, Lily, I do." Emily turned at that moment, her cheeks flushing with warmth. That Christmas was unlike any other Ethan had known. Once his mansion had felt grand but empty. Now it was alive with laughter and love. He realized that the woman he had found, half frozen on a bench, had become the missing piece of his life and his daughter's. Emily, too, realized that the man who had saved her and her child was not just a wealthy stranger, but the one who had given her hope again. And so what began with a little girl's innocent question, "Daddy, why is she sleeping here?" became the story of a new family born not out of wealth or obligation, but out of compassion, kindness and love that flourished against the coldest winter.